In the previous video, we got our round boy moving, shooting and shielding, and glow. I also decided to dub the main character Round Boy. This was mainly because of a nickname my friends gave me, I think because of my well-rounded personality. So what's next? Well, let's find out. So this week, I decided I wanted to implement the camera controls, and I also wanted to just add some general effects to the game to make it look pretty and have some sound as well. And I also wanted to add some enemies. So let's get on to it. The camera. My initial plan for the camera was to take the player's position and the current mouse position on the screen, and then place the camera somewhere in between. But while I was coding this, I ran into this problem. It was trying to place my camera at 2.5 duodecillion, which I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it correctly. Oh, and infinity, which both happen to be pretty damn big numbers. I did eventually get the camera working how I wanted it to, but I was struggling to get it to clamp. So for now, I've decided that instead of putting the camera between the player and the mouse position, I would just put the camera on the gun instead. I may come back and change the camera later on, but for now, this is what I've got. Recoil. I want the guns to feel like they have some weight to them. No, not that kind. But I'm hoping this will give some good feedback for the player, and maybe even be incorporated into the gameplay somehow. I did this by taking two vectors. For those of you that don't actually know what a vector is, it's this guy. But a vector in Unity basically tells you where on the screen an object is. So using this information, we can take two vectors and then take one away from the other to get a direction. And after magically timesing it by a variable, which I've called recoil in this case, we get this. So now I want to talk about the main thing I wanted to implement this week, which is sound and particle effects. Sound. Sound was pretty easy to implement. I used a free program called BFXR, which I think means Big Fluffy Xylophone Recordings, to make some absolutely beautiful sounds. I used this program to create three sounds to start with. A basic enemy gunshot sound, a basic gunshot sound, and a shot hit sound. All that was left to do was to code the sound in, which I did by creating a brand new class called Audio Manager, and then hooking everything up so that it would all play icely. Particle effects. Particle effects, or what I like to call them, P, are one of my favourite things to play with in Unity. They basically allow you to create these special effects, which just look really pretty. I wanted to create a particle effect for the player's projectile for when it hits something. This way it would give the player some good feedback, and I'm hoping that it would add to the visuals of the game. So I jumped into the Unity particle system and started playing about. I used the same shader I used for the player's bandana, and oh my god, that's bright. After playing with the size and the brightness of the particles for a bit, I decided to go with something where the particles would burst out, and adding some physics, they would bounce around a little bit after they'd come out. Now I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I'm colourblind, and I've been told by some people that the colour of the particles is green. Now I'm here to tell you that you're wrong! And the actual colour of the particles are yellow, because they are yellow. I then finally attached the particle to my projectile, so I got something that looked like this. The square. The final thing I wanted to implement this week was an actual enemy for the player to shoot. Obviously, this game being called The Squares, the enemies are going to be squares. So, I did some programming, and got an enemy moving to the left slightly, and on a certain interval he would shoot a projectile at the player. The last thing to do was to create some sort of health mechanic for both the player and the enemy, and finally I made one more particle effect for when the enemy dies. Whoa! Looks like I've had a haircut, but there we have it. I finished everything I wanted to do this week. I apologise that this video's taken a while to come out. I'm not super good at editing just yet, still pretty new to it. The coding and stuff's going well, it's just the editing, it takes forever. But now that I've finished everything I wanted to do, I guess I'm going to show you what it all looks like now. What do you think about that pass, Kyle? Woo! And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.